What's going on, everybody? I don't normally do this, but today I got time. So, as I've mentioned to some of you before, with me being a DJ, I'm in a bunch of little DJ groups. And, you know, in these groups, we talk about DJ stuff, right? So, as I've mentioned before, a lot of these dudes in these groups is the biggest fucking crybaby ass whiniest motherfuckers I ever ran across in life. You talk about entitlement issues. Like these dudes complain about the most ridiculous fucking shit to fucking complain about. And I typically never get involved in the conversations. You know, I just sit back and watch. Actually, I got a couple of DJ partners that we be laughing at the shit, But these motherfuckers complain about every fucking thing. And so one of the biggest arguments that I've seen in the last 5 years in these groups, and it's not just one group, like a lot of the groups, is the sync button. Now, for those of you who are not DJs, because I know I got a lot of friends that are not DJs, they just love DJs and love music. You probably don't know what the sync button is. So, first of all, let me say this. I'm an old school DJ. My primary weapon of choice is turntables, but I do use MIDI controllers. I have a Rain one that I use. I have a smaller Pioneer board that I use for smaller gigs. But most of the time, if I'm going to be on stage, I'll break out the turntables, because it just makes me feel like I'm performing, But for like my private, corporate things like that, I typically bring my Rain one. So even though I'm an old school DJ, I'm not opposed to technology, right? So with the MIDI controllers, there's a button on there called the sync button. And the sync button basically helps you to mix. For my non-DJ friends, mixing is when you have one song playing and you mix another song with it. So a lot of the old school DJs, they're anti-sync button. They feel like it's cheating, it's eroding the art form. Like, it's just a plethora of complaints about the sync button, right? And I never got myself involved in the conversation. I mean, I never used the shit, but, I was just kind of like, all right, man, fuck it, whatever. Because I feel like the average consumer just literally doesn't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? So I finally decided, you know what? What it is I DJ with a friend of mine who was using the sync button. And I asked him about it. He was like, oh, yeah, cool, the sync button. And then I started asking a few of my other DJ friends, and it was a few guys. I was like, yeah, man, hell yeah, I use that shit. You don't use it? And so I said, well, let me give it a try. So I was at the house. I started messing with it. And like I said, I never messed around with it too much. I mix by ear. I've always mixed by ear, so I didn't really see no need to change that. I'm pretty good at it. I use headphones, which is another argument, but sometimes I don't use headphones. Depending on how much I had to drink. Once I get drunk, I get tired of the headphones hanging around my neck and I put them down. But I decided to use the sync button. And so when I was messing with it at the house, I started feeling like I wasn't doing it right. Because the impression that I got from this shit was that if you use the sync button, it would automatically mix like I literally was waiting for two hands to come up and mix the records for me. And that never happened. So I actually was in a conversation on Threads with somebody that had brought up the sync button. And so I went back in that conversation and said, hey, I got to messing around with this thing at the house and I kind of feel like I'm not doing it right. It's not really, I don't feel like I'm cheating. And so the girl, female DJ, she hit me back and she said, well, it don't mix the songs for you. All it do is match up the beats. And I was kind of like, that's it? Like, match up the beats, that's all it do? And she was like, yeah. So I called one of my buddies. I said, hey, man, this sync button thing that you swear by, I said, it doesn't actually mix the songs for you. It just matches up the beats. And he's like, yeah. And I said, bro, the fader will match up the beats, the up and down, the pitch control will match up the beats. You got to understand something. With this software, the Serato software and all this stuff, the way shit is set up now, the beats per minute is on the screen. So if you got a song playing on the left deck at 95 beats per minute, if you load up a song on the right deck that's at 94 beats per minute, all you got to do is use the pitch control and raise this one up to 95 and do your thing. And so all the sync button does is automatically match up the beats per minute. I literally was like, this what they arguing about? This ain't cheap. How is this fucking cheating? Like, I literally was like, you guys are fucking out of your mind. I was like, how is this cheating? All it's doing is matching up the beats. You still have to mix the shit. You got to start it on time. Once the beats are matched up, if you start this one, let's say you scratch this one in on the right side and you scratch in a little late, you still got to get that shit back on beat. The sync don't automatically get it on beat. You know what I mean? So I don't really understand what the fucking problem is. Like, what motherfuckers is complaining about. I don't see the cheating in it. Like, they keep saying that it's cheating. I literally don't see how it's cheating. All it's doing is matching up the beats. So now I'm looking at these DJs in these groups that's complaining about this shit and talking about it. So they be saying it's eroding the culture and, you know, all this different shit. I'm just like, man, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't even fucking get it. Like, I'm still probably not, well, ain't no probably, I'm still not using it. I just mix by ear. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just a habit. Like, I got a song playing that's this beats per minute. I mix this one. Sometimes I don't even look at the goddamn computer. If I know I'm playing at 95 beats per minute, I load up another song, scratch that bitch in. If it's off, I start adjusting the pitch and get it on beat. You know what I mean? Especially with the turntables, you ain't even got no sync button with the turntables. But I don't fucking understand what the big ass fucking argument is about the sync button DJs versus the non-sync button DJs. The sync button doesn't do enough to for someone to feel like they have an advantage. Like, I don't really fucking get it. Like, if the sync button was automatically mixing the songs, like if you turned on the sync button and just boom, it just did its own thing, then I would be like, God damn it, Candace. Sorry about that. So, like many other DJs, my office/studio is in the garage, and my daughter came out here and opened the garage door. But anyway, like I was saying, I don't really see the cheating aspect of it. I don't understand what the big argument is about it. 100% clients don't give a shit. You know, unless you in some little, you know, hip hop spot where turntablism is a thing, which, like I said, with the turntables, you're not even using the sync button. My mixer don't got no sync button on it. But I literally don't understand what the big fucking argument is. And again, like I said, you know, I'm just sharing this because I'm in these DJ groups, and some of the stuff that these DJs be complaining about just be blowing my fucking mind. I'll be like, dude, you know, focus on you. Focus on doing what you doing. You know, do you know, book your gigs, get your money, you know, do whatever the fuck you're gonna do, and don't worry about what nobody else doing. Because motherfuckers out there doing some shit that you wouldn't do. Like I said, I'm not anti-technology. I love turntables, but I'm not against MIDI controllers. You know, when MIDI controllers first came out, all the turntable DJs was talking shit. Shit seemed like a great idea to me. I went and bought one. You know, same thing with CDJs. I had CDJs. I went from turntables to CDJs, and then back to turntables. And when Serato came out, I went back to turntables. And then, you know, ended up getting a MIDI controller because it's just easy. Like, when I travel, I'd rather travel with a MIDI controller than travel with turntables and shit. But anyway, this is my big soapbox for the night. If you have an opinion, go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you one of them DJs that like to complain about everything and you want to jump in my comments and cuss me out or something like that, don't do it. I'm not even going to respond. I'm probably just going to delete your comment. But if you have some constructive something to add to the conversation, by all means, go for it. Or if I'm not doing it right, maybe I'm not doing it right. I felt like I wasn't doing it right. Like, you know, once I turned it on and I started using it, I was like, there has to be another button that I'm not pressing, because it wasn't the shit they arguing about. I was like, this can't be it. But anyway, everybody have a good night.